How's it going, everybody? We got the Dark Dimension 8 planner is now live in game, and we're going to go through this today. I'm going to give you my recommendations for the sections, but I'm also going to give you kind of my vibe check on Dark Dimension 8 and on the various sections and like how I would approach things. First things first, let's talk about some of the things that this Dark Dimension 8 planner is not set in stone on. This is not necessarily the order in which the sections are going to be. It's not necessarily going to start with City Villain, then City Hero, then Global Villain, then Global Hero, then Cosmic. Though that is the case for all the previous Dark Dimensions, they have said, at least in the Envoy chat, and we can share this, this is not necessarily set in stone that this is going to be the order that the sections appear. Also, if I just choose a random character, if I just choose Bullseye, Bullseye is not gear tier 19. I'm not sure why it's not showing me gear tier 19 here, but it does on the baby account when I went ahead and did this, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. Because I have a bunch of skill gear to equip them. Okay, no. It shows you the crimson gear that you need to bring these characters up to gear 219, though. It says gear requirement, but it's not a requirement. It's a recommendation. Dark Dimension 9, or 8, whatever it is going to be tough. So it's recommending gear 219, but you don't need that to go in the notes. That has been confirmed by Community Manager Pathfinder, so that's good. Now we got those caveats out of the way. Let's get into it. I'm going to try my best not to sneeze. The City Villain section, this is the first vibe check, is that the City Villain section is not one that I would invest in lightly. This is not one that I would race to invest in. On the account I'm showing you right now, I have. On the baby account, I've not. And we're going to see that when we get over there. If you want to know the best characters I consider for right now, it's going to be the Superior 6 members. We're going to go with Vulture, Slayer, Kraven. Those three, I think, are guaranteed. I go Lizard at this point, and I go Red Goblin at this point. I don't do Mysterio, even though he's a controller, which we're going to talk about is kind of a good thing, because I just don't get enough universal use out of him, although maybe some people do. I'd argue it doesn't really help him do what he's doing anyway, right? Electro, if you're using her in war, you're like a super crackened out war player. I think that she is a decent option over Red Goblin for sure. But that's like a very, very niche, very specific audience. You guys are going to be doing your own thing. What I do want to talk about is the ISO selection, or the ISO classes for the characters selected here, hurt our overall balance. Which, again, is the reason why I hope that we're going to get different City Villain characters. I really wish Morbius had won the poll. Morbius being a controller and a villain for City would have been so clutch for us here. But unfortunately, Moon Knight won, and Moon Knight doesn't really fit in with our City hero. At least I don't think he needs to fit in. But I digress. It is what it is. This would be my current City Villain check. Now, if I were to go over to City Hero, it's a lot easier to decide. I think there are clear winners here, but there's also great characters we could talk about. Like, Big Time Spider-Man is an amazing character. If you want to put Skirmisher blue-purple on him to help you get around Black Knights, I think that's actually completely acceptable, and him being a controller would actually help us balance out a lot. But the characters that I brought, who I think are giving me the most impact, is my Spider Society team, all four of them, not Ghost, and then Robbie Reyes. I'm just going to straight up say it. I think these are the best characters. I think the Spider Society team is an absolute nightmare in Crucible on the defensive side, and this just skyrockets their value. And I think Robbie Reyes is really holding his team together for Secret Defenders, keeping them that threat that we need them to be. Now, we do have Blaster, Protector, Brawler. Support is nice, and then another Blaster. So you can see we're already skewed heavily away from controllers and supports. That's only going to get worse. So when you're looking at your own section, if you have characters that are controllers, like I just talked about Big Time Spider-Man, or supports, like say if you really liked, I want it to be at least a good character, Squirrel Girl, Cloak. Oh, it's kind of tough. No, not in this section anyway. But if you're going through the sections, you can see like good controllers that you would prefer to bring over, whatever sectional characters we're talking about, like maybe Lizard here, or maybe over Noir here. No, Noir's Blaster. So maybe Penny here. This just feels horrible. I don't know. The classes are pretty stacked is what I'm trying to get at. So try and be careful for your crystal usage. If you're a spender, we're going to talk about that. It's not really going to matter much, but if you are free to play, it matters a lot more. All right. The Global Villain section. This one is stacked. There's so many good characters. The no-brainer is, of course, Apocalypse. He's also support. Love that. Great, great, great pick. After that, some people might be tempted to do the Orcus team. I just don't see their value outside of rates. Like, they're going to be good. They're going to have the new stats. When you get them started up, they're going to be amazing. But right now, there's a huge concern about farmability and character release cadence and everything like that, right? So I kind of shy away from them personally, with the exception of Lady Deathstrike. Lady Deathstrike, as I'm not buying character offers, even on the spender account, and I'm definitely not on the free-to-play account. Lady Deathstrike, for me, is going to be keeping my Orcus team together, so it just makes sense that I power her up as much as possible. So putting purple ISO on her, probably Striker, that rings true to me. I just really, really like that idea. After that, I'm going to look for a team, like I did for Superior 6, like I did for Space, a teams that I'm synergy, because I'd like to have some really powerhouse teams, but also teams that are not just powerhouse in one mode, but are flexing really well. You might be surprised if you've watched the channel. I really like Cabal. I really like Cabal. I love that leader is a support as well. I don't like that Namor is a brawler and that Iron Patriot is a blaster. The blaster part's okay, but those are my 5 for the global villain section. I love these characters. I'm going to use them everywhere, especially Apocalypse and Cabal. Lady Deathstrike, we're going to find use for her, even if it's just in raids to hyper carry her team. That, to me, would be worth it. Other notable characters here, I think Dakin is a very notable character. If you wanted to bring Dakin over, and he's a controller too, which is super nice. If you wanted to bring Dakin over maybe Namor or Lady Deathstrike, because Lady Deathstrike is also a brawler, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that is a completely fair take. Just if you're on that free-to-play track and you need to be more careful because you're getting a spread of crystals as opposed to, you know, being able to open up the orbs, which we're going to talk about a little bit. I love Dakin. There's also Ares, but him being a protector makes him a hard pass for me. If you're a warhead, I think that's a different story for you because he's such a fun character in war. All right, global hero section. This section is also kind of stacked. It's another interesting section for sure. Now, I know free-to-play doesn't have Captain Britain yet, but if you're free-to-play, you're gonna have Captain Britain by the time you're looking into Dark Dimension. That's a safe thing to say. So, Captain Britain, Black Panther Shuri, and Hank Pym. After they reworked Hank Pym and they gave them speed up on spawn everywhere, they just became a crazy team. Like, you could use them with Apocalypse to beat Alpha Flight, Skrull in war, which is insanity. Obviously, in Crucible, you could use them as a unit, or you could break off the Captain Britain and just use the Iron Man version, which is amazing. Very, very powerful team. So I think there's just too much value in that Illuminati team to really overlook them. With that said, if you wanted to take Captain Britain out because you don't have him yet, and you want to do your team ahead of time for whatever reason, you could absolutely do that. We could talk about subs, but I think you're really stretching at that point. For me, the next no-brainer on this list is going to be Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler, 120 speed stat plus speed up on spawn makes him an absolutely god tier character because he's also giving speed bar to your highest damage character or a bunch of X-Men. And then on his health trigger, I believe is 30% life. He goes like stealth, he gets safeguard, dodges, all kinds of crap. Super hard to kill, very high stat character. Lots of people got diamonds on him from various events. And then his ultimate, clearing all buffs and putting slow out there. I don't build characters for Dark Dimension, but the fact that he's going to do that in the Dark Dimension is very, very nice. I see Nightcrawler as being a very evergreen kind of character. We're going to be using him for quite a long time. And then the fifth character for me, this was the hardest one, but I ended up going Black Knight. I don't like that Black Knight is another protector. Again, if you're a spender, you're not really worried about crystals. You get to kind of pick and choose your crystals. But free to play, you're much more strict, right? So right now, if I go and I look at the balance, we already have 6 brawlers, 5 protectors, and freaking 1 controller. But we talked about Dakin, who's an interesting character. We talked about Big Time Spider-Man. Those are interesting characters to kind of take some brawlers out, protectors out, and pump up your controllers. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your own sort of requirements, what you're thinking to do. And also keep in mind, we don't know the difficulty of Dark Dimension 8 yet. We don't know if it's going to be a walk in the park. We don't know if it's going to be like Dark Dimension 7, which was pretty balanced, or if it's going to be like Dark Dimension 3, which was what, hellish, nightmarish, just deathscape, right? We don't know what's going to be happening there. But this would still be my Global Hero section. This is the section I already have done. You can see I actually have most of these characters already done. We're going to go in game in a little bit here. All right, and then the... want to talk about other characters? I guess we could. The Extreme team, they don't need Purple ISO to sim the raids, so I think that's a waste. With the exception of Nightcrawler and maybe Gambit, I don't think they're going to benefit enough from the Purple ISO boost all the way to 3. Like, I could see in the future me kind of putting, you know, ISO purple 1 on Forge pretty quickly after I'm done with Dark Dimension 8 requirements. Same with North Star. I could see me putting purple ISO 1 on him. Same with Sasquatch. Like, there's a lot of good characters here that are great, but they don't make the level 3 purple crunch to me, but probably the early level 1 crunch after finishing Dark Dimension 8 requirements. Food for thought, right? All right, Legendary Cosmic. There's a couple no-brainers here for sure, right? Let's grab our Skrull right out the gate. Let's grab our Mephisto at the gate and our Old Man Logan. Those are the 3 characters. I think they're just a straight lock. And from here, this is where I kind of want to start trying to balance out a little bit, because there's so many good characters here. We can kind of pick and choose. And I'm still super low on controllers. I'm super high on protectors and brawlers. So this is where I kind of make a judgment call, which is I'm going to grab Green Goblin Classic. I'm already going really, really hard into the city villain section, like I did for the Superior 6 team. It makes sense that the leader, the person who's going to do the most damage, the character that kind of sets the stage, put as much investment in him. Even if you don't do the city villain section with the Superior 6, because a better team comes out, I think I would still end up doing Goblin because of what he brings to his team. He's always the most important member of whatever team he's put on, right? So I think Green Goblin Classic, especially because he's a controller, love that. And then I'm going Gore. Yeah, so I went Gore because he's a controller. I have Gladiator at level 1 Protector. I'm going to have Thanos at level 1 Striker very, very soon. I'm actually going to jump the gun on that before I finish Dark Dimension 8, because I think as the Arena team and as a very strong, stable Crucible team, they kind of warrant that kind of, ooh, shit, investment. And I actually did Kang already at Purple level 1. There's so many great characters to choose from here that it's hard to pick. And it sucks that we end up using this section to try and balance out our ISO classes. But at the end of the day, I'm still really happy to have all these characters stronger. Also, I think Gore would be interesting to strip off battlefield effects, if that's something we're going to need once we get in-game. But you could see here, if I sync this is going to be gone because I already opened up a bunch of these. Let's head on in-game right now, and I'll just talk to you about the actual ISO classes I chose for some characters. I don't think necessarily you want to lock it in. Like I already talked about how I think I made a mistake with Black Knight. I think Black Knight Striker was a big mistake. It's cool that, you know, he's getting the extra health and the damage, and he's hitting for the extra max health, but I do think that Fortifier just greatly outweighs this. You know, he would get the extra barrier on spawn, he'd get the extra health, and on turn, clearing vulnerables, +3 barrier, you can't really see it, +3 barrier on turn, and gain an additional max health. It's like Fortifier just is light years better than Striker on Black Knight here, which bums me out, especially that extra life that it's giving on that tier 3 is huge, right? Absolutely gigantic. So, Fortifier Black Knight, if you're going to choose to bring him for sure. Mephisto. I think Mephisto can go Raider or Striker. I opted for Striker. Apocalypse, I think, is a hard lock in on Striker. Hank, I put him as a healer. I don't necessarily think that's necessary. I mean, healer, skirmisher, and Striker, I think, are all very comparable. I put him as a healer. Like, I'm super excited to use them in the upcoming Legendary event. When you have this guy on defense, it's insane. And when his passive health trigger hits, that saved my Illuminati team a lot in War and Crucible. So I put him as a healer. That's kind of my preferred place to be. Penny Parker, Striker. Skrull Striker. Yeah, I kept Skrull as a Striker here instead of a Raider, which I've traditionally liked better. It seems just like the Striker is kind of having a bigger impact in Crucible on defense and in the raids, which I kind of like. Like Raider Striker on Skrull is tough. I think it can go either way. Old Man Logan Striker, I think this is it's silly when people want to go Skirmisher, in my opinion. The Striker extra damage that he's going to get is insane. The extra speed bar that he gets from his basic, the assist, is just, it cannot be ignored. Lots of people are now starting to use him with the Mercs for Money team in Crucible on offense, or using him with the Superior 6 team on offense to take out Illuminati. And it's definitely proving that Striker, especially with him putting these bleeds out there, is an insane benefit. Now, I don't want to lie to you. I have switched him to a Skirmisher in that Illuminati matchup if, say, I'm facing off against a really, really big Illuminati and I need my Green Goblin Classic to do an assist to put defense down out there. I've definitely done that. Although Green Goblin Classic, he can also flip their initial defense up into defense down, which is something you can also lean into. I digress. I still think Striker is the right play for Old Man Logan, and that's where I put him. Robbie Reyes, I put as a Striker. Kang, I'm not going to talk about because we kind of benched him anyway. Oh, Robbie, or not Robbie, Noir. Noir as a striker or raider. This is an interesting conversation to have. In raids, I don't think it matters at all. At all. Does not matter whatsoever. The team is simming it once you have them, like stars with a few diamonds on them. So I don't think you need those vulnerables from him as a raider. In Crucible defense, if he gets the right striker assist from Peter B, it's over for a character. So I really like him as a striker. Lizard. Oh, Lizard's going to be a tough one. So I am bringing Lizard. I don't know if I'm going to put him as a raider or a skirmisher. I have yet to decide. Part of me says I love the extra raider crits. I love those vulnerables. They're so nice. The guaranteed vulnerable is too important in some matches, though. So I think my Lizard is going to be going the skirmisher route, which is a shame because the assists are going to kind of be wasted. I don't really think he needs the focus, the extra health he gets from everything. But at the end of the day, I need to guarantee where that vulnerable goes in war attacks and some crucible attacks. So for me, he's going to be a skirmisher, which feels like a waste. It's kind of why I don't want to bring Lizard at all. But I'm going to be ready when Odin comes, which I have no idea when that is. I just assume there's not going to be another city villain character out by then, for me, unfortunately. If you bring Gladiator, definitely Fortifier for the exact same reasons we talked about with Black Knight. Captain Britain Striker, I just like him as a striker. It's just the way to go for me. Gore. Gore is an interesting character for me. I haven't settled on what I will do yet. I have Raider set up for level 1 right now. But he seems to really, even because sometimes he's not on his team, he lacks that focus. He might be a skirmisher, even at this giant level I have him at. Even when I get that diamond filled in, I might have to switch him to a skirmisher. Undecided on that one. Definitely don't recommend anyone decides on that. Ares. I put Ares as a raider, but I also benched him because he is a protector. Lady Deathstrike. I think she is a for sure striker now because when she's hitting into vulnerables or like a bleed, she's then going to be putting defense down out there. I love that aspect of her ISO attack, and also just her bleed damage is off the chain. So having her as a striker makes sense to me. Peter B. Skirmisher, self-explanatory. He does assist. Nightcrawler Raider. I like the crits. I think that's more important. Leader Striker, self-explanatory. Green Goblin Classic. Raider or striker. So on my baby account, he is a raider. I have found myself being mad that he's a raider because the ISO attack, especially if you're hitting into somebody that has safeguard, like Spider Society in War, or Sasquatch in the raids currently. I want the ISO attack because the ISO attack can give you defense down, whereas if he can't flip anything on his ultimate, he doesn't get defense down, right? He doesn't give it. So I prefer him as a striker, very much so. Pav as a striker, obviously. Iron Patriot. So skirmisher in like legendary events and in long sustain modes. Striker in burst modes. I'm done with Old Man Logan. Even if I needed to still use Cabal for Old Man Logan or for Dark Dimension, I wouldn't put the purple ISO skirmisher on him. I'd still do striker because at the end of the day, he's going to be a 5v5 kind of character, not a super long fight character when it matters the most. Red Goblin Raider, I think that's self-explanatory. Black Panther, sure, you could go skirmisher or raider here. I don't think there is a wrong answer. You really want her to be stripping stuff off with her special. She does get a lot of focus. She also gets a lot of focus from like Reed Richards. So when she's going up against a Black Knight, like my Shuri very rarely gets resisted, but it can happen. So I totally see where skirmisher could come into play here. Namor as a raider. So here's the thing. If Iron Patriot is a striker, we want to have more vulnerables definitely flying out there. So him as a raider makes sense. But once again, in Dark Dimension modes or like the Old Man Logan mode, switching him to like a ISO blue 5 striker and Patriot to an ISO blue 5 skirmisher makes a whole lot of sense to me. Slayer as a striker, that is just straight up necessary for the Illuminati counter. So I just do that. Craven as a raider. This one is tough because I also would rather have him as a striker for that Illuminati matchup. But I like him as a raider when it comes to war and when it comes to most other Crucible matches. So that's why he goes raider for me. Vulture. This one was tough too. For the same reasons as Lizard. I fought very hard with myself if I wanted to do raider or skirmisher. The greed in me came out and I said, he's the frickin' Vulture, man. He's going to crit. It's going to go hard when he does his ultimate and stuff like that. Let's go ahead and let's make him a raider. And I think that's actually it for Purple ISO. Yeah, I don't think it goes any lower than that. So there's my conversation with you guys about Purple ISO. Alrighty, guess who tried to end the video without going over ISOs and crystals and how it looks from the other perspective? That'd be me. Alright, so let's quickly bust through this. This is now the newly free-to-play account, the baby account, if you will. It has probably spent $200 in its lifetime on passes and certain training material offers. But no more. Zero, zilch. Definitely didn't spend anything on purple events. And it looks close. It looks way closer than it is, right? It says like, oh, we were only 13 crystals away for brawlers, but no, that's because as soon as we do that, then it's gonna add 9 and then add 9 further and further on, right? So as far as the crystal front go, I am super far on the baby account, and that leads to an interesting conversation to be had about the priority for the next 9 days in this store. So we only have 9 more days here. So I got 151 trees to spend. Should I be going for crystals, or should I be going for the ions? Because on the big account, like, I just need ions. I'm good on crystals. I need like probably another 1,000,000 ions, and then I'm just done, right? You can see I have on the baby count about 853, which is enough to bring a character up to purple 3. 2 characters to purple 3. I guess it's like 360,000 or something like that to bring a character from 0 to purple 3. Oh yeah, we got a promotion on Dockin here. So let me go ahead and let me jump into a character, Apocalypse. So here we go. I have enough to upgrade him. These are the very, very rare characters that I would upgrade. We actually already had the crystals on him, so this is kind of showing nothing. I want to upgrade a character that I'm for sure going to be bringing, so you can kind of see how quickly your ions dry up. Well, here, let's finish off Goblin, but again, he's only 1 piece away, so that's only 47,000 plus 45,000. You can see we already dropped 100,000. We're just polishing characters off so far. Do we have Skrull done? Where's Skrull and Old Man Logan? They're pretty big boys. Where are they? Old Man Logan's already 3. Skrull is not. Skrull has a bunch to equip, and you can see I still need the crystals from him. This is where I wanted to get in the conversation. You are so quickly going to run out of crystals if all you farm is ions, and you will so quickly run out of ions if all you farm is crystals. And if you're free to play, like, you did get a decent amount of these orbs, but nowhere near the same. Because what did I have? I had 70 on the other account. I can tell you I've already opened up like 150 of them. So definitely, you need to beware about how you are balancing your crystals / ion expenditure, right? There's only 9 more days. What I would suggest is what I'm doing right now. The characters that you know you're bringing them. So that for me is Skrull, Old Man Logan, Apocalypse. Someone else that I know I'm going to bring is going to be Lady Deathstrike, especially on this account, because she is going to be having to hard carry the Orcus team for me if I get them unlocked. So like I see, oh man, this is going to be the last character I can do, right? I know that she's going to have to hard carry the team for me. I know I can find use for her elsewhere. So let's go ahead and bust this out. Yeah, we're going to open up another 10 of these and hope that's enough. All right, yeah, that should definitely be enough. I know I also need a lot more brawlers, as we talked about in this video. So I would take the characters you know right now, spend your ions, spend your crystals, and then do a new take on your inventory and see what you actually need. So I'm already down to 76,000. 76,000, by the way, is enough to put 1 level 3 upgrade on 1 piece for 1 character. Right, so the ions burn fast, but the crystals burn really fast too, especially if you didn't get a bunch of those tickets and everything. So that's my advice, guys. You got to be even Stevens. Definitely the way to go was not dump everything into ions. It definitely wasn't dump everything into crystals. It was you got to be even Stevens. Otherwise, you're going to be left with a bunch of crystals and no ions to upgrade to put them on, or you end up with a bunch of ions and no crystals to do anything with the ions. But here's where there's a caveat to everything. We don't know where the purple ISO is going to be coming from in the future. We have no idea. Is it going to come from raids, war, crucible, battle world, arena? Shit, who cares? Who knows, right? And when it does come, is it going to be these orbs that you just saw me open that only give crystals? Or are they going to be introducing like a new blue style orb where it has ions and crystals in there? This is all unknowns, which is why I think you want to be as even as possible. Because if you go too hard into ions and then crystals become the main bottleneck, damn, you're screwed. If you go too hard into crystals and ions are the main bottleneck, damn, you're screwed. So yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough. Anyway, I'd be super interested to know how you guys are progressing with your journey to Odin. I don't know what you want to call it. With the Odin stuff, this is what I mean. Are we going to get an orb like this for Brawler eventually, where there's ions plus crystals in there, and then plus like a random crystal on the left side? Anyway, I'd be super interested to know how you guys are progressing through Dark Dimension 8. Do you have one section ready? Are you free to play and you have a whole section ready? Or like me, did you do like the characters you know you're going to bring? You know that they're going to give you so much value for such a long time. I'd be very interested to know your opinions on that. But for now, guys, stay happy, stay healthy, have fun, because later today, I'll drop out another video that might test that. But we'll get through it together. Bye for now. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.